This is The Wow Effect, the podcast for women entrepreneurs who are scaling big. I'm Mallory Steele, and every episode expect honest conversations, actionable insights, and stories that make you say, wow. Welcome back to the Wow Effect podcast, where we feature real women building real businesses and talk about what it actually takes to create success that feels aligned, fulfilling, and free. I'm your host, Mallory, and today I'm joined by Laura Brailsford, a lifelong entrepreneur with a story that equals parts that are creative, courageous, and deeply authentic. Laura has been building businesses since her childhood, from selling handmade jewelry with her mom in the 90s to owning her own international design brand, launching a shoe company, and now helping women reshape their relationship with money through work and finance. In this episode, Laura opens up about adapting through economic shifts, overcoming imposter syndrome, rebuilding confidence, and finding purpose in helping other women gain financial clarity and freedom. We also talk about the power of saving before you leap, learning to fail forward, and surrounding yourself with a community that truly believes in your vision. If you've ever questioned your next move or needed a reminder that it's never too late to reinvent yourself, this conversation will speak to you. Let's get started.
Hello.
Laura, welcome to the Wow Effect podcast. I'm so excited we get to have this conversation.
Yeah, me too. I'm really excited. Thank you for having me.
I kind of just want to jump right into you've done, I know we've known each other for a while, so I don't want to pretend like we haven't. I know some of your stories, but you've had some different experiences in entrepreneurship. So I'm curious at what age you knew you were an entrepreneur.
So I knew as an entrepreneur at age 10.
I knew it.
So I guess a little bit about that background. My mother had an art gallery sort of through the 90s. And there were a lot of like crafty type artists at that point in time too, where they weren't just, painters and sculptors. She had some like jewelry makers. And so there was a woman, I actually don't remember her name, and she used to make this jewelry out of what was called friendly plastic. I don't know if anybody would know that. I'm aging myself a lot. And then there was another person who did like origami and made it into jewelry as well. And my mom was like, I think we could do this. I think we could do this together. Yeah. And so we started to craft jewelry. And at the time I was in grade 5, and I would take the jewelry, we'd make the jewelry, I'd take it to my class, and we would sell the jewelry there. And I did that for a while, and then it just morphed into a different project and then to a different project. And in 2009, I launched and registered my first like official business, but it was a jewelry design business.
Mm-hmm. How cool is that to do that with your mom and come full circle? What are you doing with your girls?
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I created this company with my mom. It was a very different, I want to say, very different relationship between my mother and I. She showed me how to do it, but was quite hands off. Like I did a lot of the shows and the markets and sort of the business development on my own. So now with my children, well, this jewelry company that I ended up having to sort of close the doors on it when I went into a different career. And so I said to my kids, hey, do you want a jewelry company? And at the time with them, we were doing it as a fundraiser for a local girl who had leukemia. And we were trying to raise funds for that. And then it sort of morphed into a jewelry company. So now we have Olive and Kat, and it's Olivia and Katerina, and they are making and selling jewelry. And when I was saying that, I was sort of hands off at the time, or my mother was more hands off. I almost feel sometimes like I should be more hands off with them, but it's an interesting dynamic to like compare how the relationship between my mother and I, and then the relationship between myself and the kids, and how we do things. So yeah, it's very cool. Definitely full circle moment.
I don't think enough people actually incorporate their families in their business or business in their families. And to me, it's all like just life. So
yeah.
How the skill sets you had back then, what did you find came naturally to you versus maybe some skills that you've had to evolve over the years to get to where you are today? Because now you're doing something totally different.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah. And
in
I would say,
entrepreneurship.
yeah, totally. And I would say that I'm very much a serial entrepreneur. So um, the skill sets that came naturally, I don't know that any of it really came naturally per se, but my mother was very much an entrepreneur as well. And she, having the art gallery, and my parents had a telecommunications company. So they've had quite a few different companies along the way. And I think I learned a lot from them in the way of entrepreneurship. But I don't know that I just was like, I don't know if that it was innate in me. The creative design side, specifically for fashion and jewelry, I think that was maybe innate. It was just, it's always been a passion of mine. Like I'm in love with fashion. I just think it's the coolest thing ever, and it really totally fills my cup. Um, so I think that as far as like learning the business structures of it and how to be a successful business person, um, that certainly didn't come naturally to me. And I think that the struggles that my parents faced in their own entrepreneurship roles, I think that was challenging for me to overcome as well, because I don't know that they had such an abundant mindset. I have more of an abundant mindset and more of like a growth mindset than I think they did. But it was a very different time in the 90s than it is right now too. There was a lot less opportunity and a lot less, um, let's call it creative business structuring, right? So I think everything's been a learning, and I try to walk my kids through that learning as well. And I'm finding now, just being that they're the younger generation, they're teaching me stuff too when it comes to social media and building online marketplaces and that sort of thing. So it's cool. We're all learning together now.
I love that you're saying you have an abundance mindset and there's a lot more opportunity today. And I've heard the flip side too, where people say, well, the economy, we're struggling because it's not the greatest economy to be working in. How would you respond to that?
We've always had challenges in the economy. The economy has been up and down for many years. So my mother opened this art gallery in 1990, and the recession hit that same year. So I don't think that we have a terrible economy by comparison. I think that there's ebbs and flows in every economy, and I think that there's opportunity in every economy too. It just depends on how you look at it. And where I try to really restructure my thoughts is like, where are the opportunities and where are the silver linings with everything? Because regardless of where people are spending money, people spend money. So it's just about finding that area where there is a little bit more flexibility in spending, finding a product or a service that is necessary and needed, so that it's like it's less discretionary when it comes to the spending. It's more need and filling those needs. And I think it's about being adaptable, so that no matter what is going on in the world, um, you have different tools to sort of face every issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Did you train yourself to have this mindset of abundance? Where did this come from? And how do you keep it consistent?
Yeah, interesting. It is definitely work. It is work. Like, I want to say that it just flows like easily. I think that I have. So I've definitely studied it. I've studied it through like the law of attraction. I've studied it by following um, entrepreneurs, and noticed their mindsets and how they think about things, and um, sort of the no fail attitude. So I do a lot of reading or listening. I don't read a lot actually. I listen to everything. Um, to put it into perspective, more recently have an ADHD diagnosis and realized that reading is very challenging for me. So I very much listen to everything, but I consume a lot of information. And so when I look at those who have had success, I try to take a look at sort of some of their habits and behaviors and their mindset. And it's the shifting out of um, when you fall into that negative mindset. So I do think it's like an everyday practice where consistently and constantly I'm looking at, where am I today? And is that going to serve my purpose? Or am I really, would it serve me better to work on shifting that so that I can be more productive and positive?
Yeah. So you said earlier you're a serial entrepreneur, and I
Hmm.
completely agree with you. And what you're doing today is completely different from making jewelry. So do you mind
Yes.
sharing a little bit of like, how did your journey lead you to where you are today? What other businesses did you go down?
Yeah. Okay. So the jewelry company, as I mentioned, I started that when I was 10 years old, and I really did do that for many years. I did it all the way through high school. I did markets and that sort of thing. So I got experience in sales doing that. And as I mentioned, in 2009, I was actually bartending at a restaurant in Toronto, and I was talking to one of, I don't know if he was a financial advisor, but a business person, let's say. And he's like, "Oh, do this, register that, get this tax number, and your jewelry is fantastic. You should be doing more with it." And so I did, and I launched Laura Ford Designs. Back, as I mentioned, in 2009. And at the time, I was selling it in little boutiques in Toronto. I was selling it throughout some of other provinces. I had some stuff in BC, some in Quebec, and I even had a store in Europe that was selling my work. So it was a really
So
exciting
cool.
time.
So
And
cool.
yeah, it was
How
very
did you
cool.
get into Europe? That's
How did I get to Europe? Okay, so a friend of mine who is a fantastic businesswoman herself, I met her by fluke in a mall when we were both living in, when I was living in Oakville. She was actually the first person to ever carry my line of jewelry. She had a store on the beaches called Yoka. Carla is the Carla Closterhouse is the owner. Fantastic businesswoman. Very much very much has mentored me along the way. I went and worked for Carla, and she opened up a few locations under the Yoka brand, and she has family in Holland, and so she ended up stocking her sister's store in Holland with some of my jewelry as well.
so
So that's
cool.
how that's why I went to it. And it was funny too. I remember the day she called me, she said, "Would you like to put your stuff in Europe?" And I'm like, "Yeah!" Like, it was like such a cool, such a cool experience. So very grateful for that. And very grateful for the opportunities. And I do find that I am provided with a lot of opportunity. And I feel like a lot of it's because I'm open to opportunity. So, and nothing, I look at opportunity as a blessing. I look at it with gratitude, and even if it seems something that's completely out of my reach or unattainable, or maybe I'm not experienced with it or whatever it is, and this is leading me into my next story. I think I say yes, and then I'm like, I'll figure it out. I say yes, and then I'll figure it out. So in that same time frame, I was approached by a friend of mine whose contractor is a Mexican who was a shoe designer in Mexico. And he had this line of shoes, and so he decided that he was going to bring this line of shoes to North America, and he was looking for someone to help launch the shoe company. And so this girlfriend of mine, knowing that I had this jewelry company, was like, "Laura's your perfect person." And so she introduced us, and then all of a sudden there was a shoe designer. So interestingly enough, I had just launched into Europe, and this shoe company came around. So I partnered with this gentleman from Mexico, fantastic human, and we were building, designing and manufacturing shoes in a factory in Mexico. So once again, the opportunities kind of are presented, and I'm like, I like this idea. I'm going to go for it and see what comes of it. So through the jewelry company, the shoe company, I ended up doing some really cool things. So this is once again around 2010. Some really cool things. So I was a member of the New York Shoe Association, the Toronto Shoe Association. I was traveling with these designs, and it was almost like at that point in time, I all of a sudden had this like reality check, like, who am I and how am I doing this, and like, can I do this? Like, am I kind of reaching outside of am I outside my reach now? And you start to have that sense, that not that scarcity mentality, but more of that imposter syndrome. And it was a really interesting turn of events, because as soon as I fell into imposter syndrome and started to doubt myself, and fell out of that abundance mentality and really started to falter in my belief, then all of a sudden the business started to fall apart too, right?
Yeah.
My priorities fell out of alignment, my energy fell out of alignment, and that shoe company unfortunately did not survive, and it was because we ran out of money. And at the time, had I known then what I know now, I probably would have looked into getting investors, looked at getting another business partner, looked into maybe just putting more energy and effort into it. But I went into a position of like complete I don't know, shutdown almost, where I was like, I lost my belief system. I lost my belief in myself. And I think that's a struggle that a lot of entrepreneurs go through, is that they fail before, like just before they're going to succeed, right? They fail just before they're going to succeed. Because in hindsight, that shoe company, I now know what I would have done differently. I now know where I would have sold to and how I would have come up with that missing money. I now know how I would have structured it. But I gave up because I lost faith in myself, and I lost sort of that ability to recognize that it's normal to go through these learning curves. It's normal to not know everything right away. And when you said, like, did you always know? I know I didn't know any of it. It was like learn by failure, learn by design, right? And yeah, it was
And it's
interesting.
crazy how much that disbelief can take up space in your head. Where prior to that, I heard you running. You were
Yeah,
just, this is happening and this is happening. And it's just all strategy. And that's where your head was
yeah.
until the disbelief. And now you've trained yourself back to the belief because you're running again.
I'm running again. Yes. Yeah. So fast forward a few years, I did a few things. I dabbled in a few things. I closed down the shoe company. I closed down the jewelry company and then sort of relaunched it a little bit later. But I was basically working as an employee for many years because I was not at that low belief system. In the meantime, I'd gone through a marriage and a divorce too, which didn't do great things for my self-esteem, didn't do great things for once again, my belief system, my belief in myself. And through that divorce, that really cut me down. Like that really brought me to a place of like nothingness. And I thought, you know, someone who was so confident, so sure of themselves, so strong, so the willingness to achieve, the willingness to do, I was none of those things. I became a shell of my former self. And it's unfortunate, but it was a very big lesson in how much of yourself you can lose in the relationship, how much of yourself you can lose in partnership, how much of yourself you can lose when you're not standing in your own truth, when you're not standing on your own 2 feet, right? So
And maybe how
very
much
difficult.
relearning you have to do of who you are afterwards.
Totally,
Who do you become?
totally, totally. And the transitions are so interesting because I don't recognize myself now as to who I was then, and I don't recognize who I was then in comparison to who I am now, right? And just the learning. People often will be like, I can't believe you've lived so many lives inside your life. And I'm like, I just have. Like it's just been the way it's been, and I've loved it. Like I love it. I love the experiences. I love how much of the world I've seen. I love all the opportunities that have presented themselves. And now I have to remind myself to stay in the energy of accepting and stay in the energy of abundance and stay in the energy of like stay in that vibration and not let myself falter, because it's easy to go back there again. It's easy to be like, oh, I can't really do this. I'm not good at this. This isn't my thing, right? So fast forward to a few years ago. So I'm in finance right now. That's my current occupation. Still a serial entrepreneur. There's like a very high element of entrepreneurship in what I do, but that happened by opportunity too. So going through the years of wins and failures and wins and failures and wins and failures, I all of a sudden was open to the opportunity of working in finance, and it's interesting because it was something else that I want to call that I manifested. So as I was going through as an artist, as a creator, as a designer, as a small business individual, a lot of my general community or my close community, whether they felt this of me or I felt this of myself, I felt like people thought I was maybe not good. It's not that I wasn't good enough, but maybe not skilled enough, or that I would never see that success. And I always felt like I had something to prove to them. So whether it be my parents or my friends or my relatives, I felt like I had to prove something. And I said, if I could do it again, I'd go into finance. If I could do it again, I'd go into finance. I go into business. I go back to school and I would do my master's, my MBA, and I would show them. I would show them. And then all of a sudden I got a call from a financial institution. They said, do you want to apply for this job? And I was like, what? Like, how does that even happen? How is it that I'm like, I should go into finance? And they're like, hello, Laura, here's your opportunity. It happens. And so I was like, this is insane. Like, you've got the wrong person. And they're like, no, you show a tenure of customer service. We can teach you the financial aspects. Like you can examine in it. You can like study. And okay, fine. So I'm
Do you
like, this
think,
is crazy.
I don't want to interrupt your story, but do you think you were in a different mindset at that point that you were open to receive that kind of a call?
Mm, yes and no. A part of me
Okay.
actually feels like I was at my end. I was at the end of something else. I was at
Okay.
the end of another career where there were two ways this could have gone. I would either walk out of that job because I really wasn't enjoying myself and what I was doing, or another opportunity had to come up. And it was actually my current partner now. He was like, "You're going to quit your job and then you're not going to have a job. So why don't you just try this out?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. You know, like I'll give it a whirl." It was something that I said I wanted to do. Do I feel like I was more open to it? You know, when you are at the place of vulnerability because you don't know where else to turn. So the opportunity that presents, you're like, well, someone's telling me to go this way. You know what I mean? And you just have to kind of
Almost a
give
state
in.
of surrender.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's exactly what I was heading at. Yeah. I think that's where I was at that stage in the game. And I needed a big life change. I needed to really just like transform. I had to transform my finances. I had to transform my mindset. I had to transform my skill set. I felt like I was in a bit of a rut with what I was doing, as far as like not having much of a skill set to do anything else. And that was one of the challenges too. Is at that time I was looking for other work. I thought, man, I don't really have like I can make jewelry and design shoes and you know I can sell, and that's about it. Like I can sell. And so I was like, I don't have, you know, I don't have a doctorate. I don't have a master's. I don't have any of these requirements for some big jobs out there. I'm like, how will I ever do really well without having these skill sets or these certifications, let's say. And so I was like, how could I ever go into finance if I don't have a degree in finance? Like, how is that even possible? I didn't think that was a thing. And so I went for this job. I took on the job and I spent like months and months and months going like, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. How are you doing this? Like, there's no way. Your math is terrible. Like it's not. None of these things were true, but
Mhm.
that's what I kept telling myself. And so I had to really go into some deep work, some deep personal work with like worthiness, with once again with abundance, once again with like undoing scarcity mentality, undoing imposter syndrome, and I had to almost convince myself of the possibilities, convince myself that I was good enough to do this, that I was smart enough, that I have this opportunity. They wouldn't give me this opportunity if I wasn't able to do it, right?
Mhm.
And so I did all the coursework and the studying, and it was like, oh my god, how am I going to ever attract clients? How are they going to believe? Like it was wild. The mind challenges that you go through, the conversations you go through when you're trying to convince yourself of something you don't believe, right? And I decided one day that in order to help other people, I had to first help myself. And that's where I started. I'm like, I need to help myself. I need to convince, to teach, to do the work so that I would believe that I was worthy of making a lot of money, that I was worthy of having a lot of money, that I was worthy of this intelligence and this education, that I was worthy of being a professional, my mother, a professional. And uh, and so I did it, and I've done this now for 6 or 7 years, and it's so interesting when you look at it in hindsight. I'm like, it's been a hard road for sure. Like it's still challenging to learn new things, um, but it's possible for anyone, and that's what I like to help people believe is that anything is possible with the right plan and the right tools and the right conversation and the right education, right?
Possible and rewarding. And
Yeah,
if someone told you how hard it was going to be, you might have said no, but way back then,
I might have said
maybe.
no. I might have been open to the challenge. I didn't
Mhm.
expect it to be easy. I think that's part of it too. Like I expected it to be hard. I think I actually expected it to be harder.
Okay.
And that's why I didn't have the ability to do it. Right. Like I thought, how will I ever be smart enough to learn how to be a financial advisor, to learn how to be an insurance advisor, to learn how to teach wealthy people to manage their money? How will I ever be smart enough to do that? And what I realized through the training is that I was always smart enough. I just needed to apply myself. And I was always smart enough, but I never was provided the education and the information before. So how could I possibly learn it? Right. And I think that's where people fall short on their own belief systems in themselves is that everybody is capable. The tools just have to be relevant to them and their learning ability, and the information has to be tangible. And everything is once it is made so, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm hearing you talk a lot about, I think, consistency in your discipline. It wasn't like just one day this switch happened and then you were this other person. It took training every single day, probably
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day, going forward into the next version of who you want to become, or to for your next set of dreams. Where I think too many people think one day the switch is going to go off, and that's when I'll jump on that thing.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll arrive. I
yeah,
think that too in life, the arrival is it's a consistent journey with many roads, many turns, and I don't know that we ever arrive at where we are going to be, because once you arrive, it's like, okay, so what's next? Where to now?
well, and I
Yeah.
think you already have the next 10 plus goals mapped out before you arrive anywhere, so you never arrive.
No, it's true. It's true. Once again, serial entrepreneur. Like I love ideas. I have a lot of ideas. I love business. I love the psychology behind people in general, and what makes them tick, and how to I think not how to be better, because I think better means that the opposite is not good enough, but how to show people how to live a more fulfilling life, right?
Yeah.
In all aspects, how to show them the possibilities and the potentiality of everything that is available to them. I think that's really important. And it has a lot to do with how we're raised, right? It has a lot to do with generational belief system and what's taught to us as a kid. So I am every day undoing what I learned as a child. And it's interesting because you often have the conversation like, oh, my parents, if they had taught me differently. And I think I've grown out of that now. I've grown out of like the blame game with how I was raised. And now I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting that my parents thought of it this way? Isn't it interesting that growing up, I heard that money doesn't grow on trees. And growing up, it was like, well, you have to work hard for money. And growing up, this is what people thought. And now I'm like, isn't that interesting how much society has grown since then, where, it doesn't always take hard work. It takes consistency and effort, but it doesn't always take hard work to make money. It doesn't always take, like, money certainly doesn't grow on trees. That's fair. But the ability to make money, as long as you're open and motivated to do so, has far surpassed anything we've ever done before, right?
But it grows on the trees from the seeds that you plant. Right?
There you go. I like that. Yes, very much so. Very much so.
I,
Yeah.
I think this topic of imposter syndrome and divorce and transition can get pretty heavy. And I think you have such an inspiring story to share with so many women who
Thank you.
you now are in a position where you're helping them transition, going through divorce, helping them figure out their finances.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another circle.
Yeah. And I think life is full of those, right? Life is full of like, what can you learn? And then how can you impart that wisdom, or share the learnings, share the tools with other people? So I always say, like, I love finance. But what I love about it is the work that I do with my clients, and the work that I do with, and I'm going to be very specific. Like I have a lot of divorcing or divorced women clients. I attract them because I guess I don't know. I guess I put a beaker out there, and they're like, "Come work with me." But it's helping them through the bigger things. Like the money's one thing. The money's is just a part of it, but it's the emotions attached to the money, and it's showing them, or helping them to believe in themselves that they're deserving of this money, and helping them through the trauma of how they got the money. And that's a big one too, right? When you get money out of a traumatic experience, you have a hard time accepting it, feeling grateful for it, feeling like you're not going to squander it. I get that a lot. Like, I'm going to squander all this money. You're not going to squander it. We're going to plan out for it. But there's a lot of like resistance when
Okay.
money comes from an uncomfortable place.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
you say emotions attached to money, what does that look like?
Usually it's a lot of fear. It's usually sometimes it's resentment, right? I got this money from this bad situation. Now I want to go spend it all. And it's like, no, we're not going to go there. Or, sometimes it's like, well, this is all I got from all these years, and it's there's anger, there's some guilt, like, I got this money because my parent passed away, and now I don't want to spend it because it was their money, and I feel guilt, like there's guilt. There's a lot of emotions attached to money, and quite often it's not just emotions attached to the way you get money, but it's once again goes back to what people believe based on what they were taught as kids. So depending on your upbringing, quite often money is viewed as something evil. Money is viewed as something that is, it's meant to be hoarded and saved and held tightly. And, the idea of spending money and making money and the flow of money, it's often not taught. So people become very, very tight with the conversation and with the spending of it and the using of it and the leveraging of it and all those great things that we can do with money. It becomes a very resisting conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to our energy, our time, our money, we want to live within margin. We want to have margin in all those areas. And when it comes to money, I think the more you have, the more impact you can make. Is there anything you can expand on there?
Yeah, and that I absolutely agree with that. And I feel like there are so many avenues to help people, and often they will require the funds to do that. And I think that we presume that people who have a lot of money got it in a in a negative way, from like theft or bad business or fooling people, and then we lose the idea that maybe the money that is being made can go to good. So in my view, I feel like when you're using money to bring somebody else up, then money has a beautiful existence and a beautiful purpose, right? For me, I feel like, and this is something I learned along the way too, and it's an interesting thought pattern, but I read this book many years ago. It's called The Dynamic Law of Prosperity. Catherine Ponder. I may have butchered the title a little bit, but Catherine Ponder is a Christian minister, and I'm not by any means a religious person. I'm spiritual. I believe in energy and all these kinds of things, but I'm open to reading anything. And I picked up this book. I don't even know how it came to me. And one of the things that she said in this book was, and this stays with me forever, is that we are the children of, and you can enter in whatever that may be for you. So it may be God, it may be source, it may be the universe, whatever that is. And that entity is of extreme wealth and abundance. And if we are the children of such a wealthy and abundant entity, then why would they want their child to be without, living in scarcity? And I can't see that ever happening. If you look at, the wealthiest families that their kids are not living without. They may be going through the lessons of how to learn it, to earn it on their own, but they're not going without. So, and I can't imagine anyone that I love and respect and hold dear in my life, I would never want them to go without either. So we are entitled and deserving, and we're deserving of all that is out there, right? And taking that and really taking it to heart, I guess.
I think you make a really great point. You said earlier the word, and you made me think of, I believe we're stewards of money. So if we treat our money as if it's somebody else's, and we've been made the steward of it, respect it a lot more and don't squander it because we're spending or investing or whatever somebody else's money, or whether it's their identity or whatever that you're connecting to.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point when you sort of release ownership of it. And that's another thing too, right? Like when we look at energy as a means of trade, because that's all it is. It's a means of trade, right? In years before, in the olden days, let's say, people would trade service for service or product for product. They would trade the cow for the pig, or they would trade, like, I'm going to fix your shoes and you're, you know what I mean? That it was trade. And then there was such a divide in what was being needed and what was being utilized that they needed to create a something to hold value, so to speak. We'll leave it at that, right? And so money is created for that. So all it is exchange. But for some reason along the way, we've created so much emotion surrounding this, piece of paper.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
right, and lives are ruled and ruined on it, and it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. Yeah. And the idea of squandering money too, it's like sometimes I'll say to clients and friends and whomever, what does squander mean to you? Like, what does that mean to you? And they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll spend it all in one place, or I'll overuse, or I'll overspend. And I'm like, but who is that? That to me is a third party judgment of your activity, of your personal activity. Right? So if we're looking at what you're responsible for, we're looking at, making sure that your bills are paid and making sure that you have food on the table. The extra money, the money that's on top of that, if you want to spend it on yourself, that is okay. You are deserving of that, right? Like, that is not squandering money. And it just, once again, goes back to belief system and what people are taught about what's important in life and what we should prioritize, right?
You're making me think of a parallel of like squandering your time. It's like entrepreneurs work so hard and wear so many hats and throw all this energy and time at building a business for freedom, and then they
Yep.
experience freedom and they feel guilty for it.
Yeah.
You can't squander this time.
Totally. It's so true. It's so true. And interestingly enough, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, like even as a employee, you work hard. People work hard for their money. And then they think, well, I can't spend it because I have to save it. And it's like, who told you that? Who told you that? And yes, there is a certain level of responsibility, right? Like, I'm not saying, go blow it all on Black 5, which I won on Black 5 once, by the way.
What is
Or Red
that?
5. I mean, I played
Oh,
I played roulette once and I won. I played once and I won.
of course you did.
I had some luck. But truly, like, I'm not one to say go out and gamble your money away. Like, I'm at all. But there is a fine line between holding on to something and having the resistance of flow and having the resistance of using this tool to better your life and living that good life, right? And so often, especially I find with people in retirement, they are often comparing, like, do I save or do I spend? And I say, what would bring you joy? Like, what would bring you joy? Will it bring you joy to be sitting on a pile of money? And sometimes they're like, well, it would. I'm like, that's great. Then sit on the pile of money. Would it bring you more joy to take your grandchildren and go on a vacation or go to whatever? Yeah, no, that would bring me more joy. Then do that. Do that. Do what brings you joy. Because the reality, and I'm going to go on more, but I also sell life insurance, so we talk about death a lot. The reality is tomorrow is not guaranteed. Right? And too often in this job do I see people saving all their life and then dying with this massive amount of money. And then and having lived a life that they haven't completely fulfilled their wishes and desires. And I say, live the life, right? Live it. Be responsible. Make sure your bills are paid, but live the life. Yeah.
Amazing. I don't think we'll hear too many financial advisors share that guidance.
No. Hopefully not. I get my hand slapped for that one.
Right? What are you doing to live the life? What does life outside of business look like for you? Or like you are doing a million things, but you're also, wife, mother, business owner, volunteer. You're everywhere.
I do, yeah.
So how do you do all the things and recharge?
Okay, so what do I do for fun and then how do I recharge? So for fun, I like to travel a lot. So I talk about enjoying your life. Like, I'm like, if you haven't seen the world,
Yeah.
there is no
Where was
trade there. You can
the trip again?
Spain. We were in Spain this summer.
Yeah.
Spain this summer, Prague last summer, so Czech Republic, and then Portugal the year before. Intermittent trips to Florida and New York and Mexico, and we just like to travel. And often I'll be like, yes, I definitely would say I overspend on travel. Like, I overspend on travel for sure. But to me, experiencing life
You're just well invested in travel.
I'm well invested in travel. That's right. So I have a daughter who's a high performance dancer. She dances on the Canadian team, and my hobby is all the things that she does. Truly, like I was a dancer. I do volunteer teaching dance. I do love dance. I love the arts. I love, as I said, I love fashion. I love the arts. I love anything that's creative. So it's my creative spark. Choreography and music reignites me 100%. I will lie there and listen to songs and then choreograph pieces in my head and then think, who am I going to choreograph this on? and then I'll get up and go to work. But dance in general, that's certainly like my extracurricular. And I'm very blessed to have a very talented daughter that I can live vicariously through because she's just spectacular. And yeah, so we do a lot of traveling. I love seeing the world. I love experiencing all of it too. Like, tell me what the culture is. I want to eat all the food. Give me the history. I really want to be fully immersed in where I am.
Cool.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Sounds like the fun is also what recharges you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Lots of things recharge me. I love to do yoga. I find that helps to balance my emotions and helps to ground me. I love shopping. I love shopping even if I'm not spending. So that for me is, other people are different on that one, but I will just go shop. It's a creative experience for me. So that anything to do with fashion and the arts and that sort of thing, yeah, that fills my cup for sure. It seems superficial. It's so funny. I have this conversation with myself a lot. I'm like, is this superficial? Like my obsession with fashion and the arts, is it superficial? And I'm like, no, there's so much history, right? There's so much in it. Yeah.
You know what? I had this conversation with myself recently too. And then I thought about a garden.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we really admire and appreciate the gardens and the flowers and the beauty that God created there. It's like, why not the other stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That was all created too, I think.
Totally. And it reminds me of so fashion specific, it reminds me of The Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep. God, I love her. I love her. Can't wait to see the second one. She goes through
Is there actually a second one, or is that an AI thing?
Pardon me?
I can't tell anymore. I said, is there actually a second one coming, or is that an AI thing?
No, I think there's a second one coming. I really do believe there is. And if there isn't, I will be so sad because I love that movie.
All these like fake sequels being posted. I'm like, you know what? Like, I wish all these sequels were actually happening, but thank you, AI.
I'm going to really look into it, but I'm pretty sure it actually is, probably because I spend way too much investigating, way too much time investigating. But she says this one line where, oh my gosh, what is her name? I can't remember. Andy in the movie. What's her name? The actress. Anne Hathaway. So Anne Hathaway's wearing this sweater, and Meryl Streep's like, it's interesting that you chose that sweater today. And she goes into like, that sweater was this color on this runway and and inspired this person. She goes into the whole history of it. And I'm like, and that's why I love fashion, because it's not just clothing, right? There's more to it. There's an art. There's a history, right? It's fun.
There is. Yeah. And just being in Guatemala and Tulum, and like, I want to wear all the fashion everywhere I go. Last week I was a country girl. This week I want to be in whatever that lazy wear is, like embracing it everywhere I go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's good. So yeah, that fills my cup. That people will call me for fashion advice, and I'll be like, I should have been a personal stylist. I'm like, that's another business I need to do. Okay. Yet another business idea.
Because we travel a lot for work sometimes going in and out of the different airports. I actually wish there was like a boutique at the airport that I could just not travel with a bag and just show up, dress me, so I go to my conference, and then here's the clothes back so I can hop on the plane and go back to my next conference.
That's a fantastic idea. If you need a business partner,
it's yours. You can have it. Sweet. I'll be the first customer.
I love that idea. I really do. It's funny. And future thought is that I really I love business. I love new ideas. I love creating. And it's really about then aligning with yourself with the right people, right? Aligning yourself with the people who can fill in the gaps. And I think that's something I've learned along the way too, that has been incredibly important, is that when I was living in scarcity mentality, when I was living in imposter syndrome, it's because I thought I needed to know everything. I thought I needed to know, I thought I needed to be the expert on each element of business. And I think my biggest learning through it is that when you look at a major corporation, the marketing person isn't the HR person, right? And everyone has a role, and it's important to know that, as although in the beginning starting, yes, you need to wear many hats, but you can learn on the way. You don't need to be the expert from the beginning. And also in times owning the fact that you're not the expert yet on this, and that is a little bit the transparency. People are more accepting of that, right? And then finding the right people to work along with you, and the resources and the tools that are available out there right now. I'm not even going to go down the AI path, but like there are so many tools out there that no one should ever fall short of living their dream based on their perceived inability to do it, right? And that's, I think, the biggest learning.
You may be repeating yourself, because my next question was thinking in my head as you were talking was, you're with the Wow Collective, you're a go-getter, and you are a leader, like within the masterminds, and you hear a lot of the challenges that a lot of the women go through as they're building their own businesses. So is there any guidance that you would offer to those women who are maybe getting ready to take the leap from their 9-to-5 job and go entrepreneurship full time, or build to their first 6-figure business? Based on what you're hearing.
Yeah, well, lots of things. So from a completely professional standpoint, from like if someone were to come into my office as a financial advisor, I definitely would say make sure that you have some, at least 3 to 6 months of expenses put aside, 100%. And I think that sometimes people want to jump right into it and they get excited by it, but there is an element of planning that's super important. And as much as I would love to be the ringleader of just go for it, there is a certain level of responsibility where you want to make sure that you're not panicking 3 months in so that you have to quit, right? So that's the first thing. The other thing is realize, once again, I am repeating myself on this, realize that you don't have to be the expert before you jump in. Realize that you don't need to know everything, and that a lot of it you will learn along the way. And another mentor of mine once said to me, fail forward, right? So allow your failures to propel you forward. I've done it. All my life I've done it. And it's releasing and detaching from those failures and trying not to take it personally, right? Because sometimes the failures have nothing to do with you, have nothing to do with what you did. Whether you did something different or not may not have changed the result. Sometimes those failures are just putting you on a different path, or they're redirecting you to where you need to be. And so taking each opportunity and taking each experience through the business building and realizing that this is taking you just along your journey, and that it is a journey and it's not an overnight experience. So I find that getting caught up in the what is next, what comes next, what's next. So it's like, okay, a part of it is you've got to live the journey. You've got to live the experience, right? It takes time. It does take time.
So good. Yeah. And
yay.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you that I should have, or anything else you'd like to share that you didn't get to share yet? Anything else on your mind?
Just in business in general, being really cognizant of who you're interacting with, who your tribe is, who your community is. If people in your community are not your supporters, or you're not your cheerleaders, then they're not your community. Looking for a community of supportive, like-minded cheerleaders, people who are going to say, be honest with you and give you like true feedback, but also the encouragement to take that feedback and run with it. Like, having that is probably the single most important thing that you can do in life in general, like whether you're an entrepreneur or not. This experience with WOW, and I know this is not a plug. This is not supposed to be a plug, but I'm plugging. I'm going to plug away.
Love it.
So I've been with WOW for over 2 years now. And what I love the most about the community is that in times before I would have sat back, I would have stopped. I would have let the failure eat me alive. I would have taken myself out of momentum and gone for what's safe, right? I would have stuck with the easy path.
Yeah.
And what I really love about this community is when you show up, people show up for you, and they will show up with you, and they will hold your hand, and they will take you along this path, and they'll be there if they see that you're fallen back. They'll be there to like say, haven't seen you at a meeting in a few weeks. Where have you been? Are you okay? Right? And that's the kind of community you want to be part of, because it really makes a difference. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm so glad we got to do this, and thank you for sharing the story. I know it can be sometimes it can be vulnerable, sometimes it can be fulfilling, sometimes it can be thinking of things they hadn't thought of in a while. So thank you for sharing it.
Thank you. Good. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to follow the show so you don't miss an episode. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you're going to love what we have coming up. If you found value in what you heard, share it with a friend who might need it too. Until next time, keep building your dream life and your dream business.